Hey guys, what's up? My name is Art. I want to do this video today. Well, actually, it's almost no, it's after midnight, so Saturday morning, early Saturday morning. Weather's acting crazy, so my sinuses is going crazy. But there's a weird story I found recently, especially off of Facebook, of course. Okay, this happened in Maine, in which the assistant principal called a biracial kid the N-word while trying to reprimand him. Now, the funny thing about it is, why would that person use the N word? You know, you should not use that word. You shouldn't use that word at all. And the assistant principal apologized for using it, and he's basically saying that this kid was bullying another student. So he was reprimanding him and then called him that at the same time, and called him that. And I'm like, and of course, the parents are upset because you just called the N word to their son. But then again, the son's behavior wasn't all that great either. So, just because so what happens? You gloss over what your son was doing. Supposedly the son was bullying someone. But the funny thing is that you gloss over what your son was doing wrong, potentially allegedly doing wrong, and say because the vice principal called your son the N word. Okay, and it's pretty weird. Hmm. Saying there was no malice intended, but the problem is that if you use the N word, it is malice intended. No matter what you say. Okay. Now, the funny thing about this, oh, oh shoot. I hate when I have stuff lined up and then I goof up. Hold on. So, of course, when I read this, I commented on this. And everybody immediately said, fire that person. Fire that person. And because, it's unacceptable. And you're right, it is. I'm trying to get to, there it is. Okay, my, and I look up, and so I know that I read the story. I know what that person said. I know exactly what that person said, and I know how that person said it in that context, regardless of the situation. I made a comment. I said, the comment I said is that it doesn't help when we use that word. I'll show it to you. See? Now, what that means is that African American people use the N word amongst each other. If you listen to hip hop music that's uncensored, the N word is all over the place. We use the N word, and tell you the truth, even in my family, they be using it against each other. Like if you're what they call low grade or, you know, unintelligent and all this stuff, you're the N. And the idea of me saying that is that, but us using that, you watch movies, like for example, if you watch a Netflix, Luke Cage TV show, that the N word is all over the place. Yeah, and the player said, yeah, it's being authentic. It's how people talk in the streets. Yeah, that's true. But guess what? When we say it, like me, the last time I said it was years ago, and that was a slip up, of course. But when I say we, I'm talking about people of my color. Say that it normalizes it. It makes it unimpactful. So, and what happens is, and because we use it so much, in a way, it makes other people say, well, if they can use it amongst each other, how come I can't use that word? How come is it that if I say it, it's hurtful and spiteful, but you guys say it amongst each other with no problem? You see what I'm saying? That's the idiocy of that N word, and that blows my mind sometimes. So this guy, responds, MFer. Oh shoot, maybe I should use my glasses because it's kind of late. Okay, MFer. That's not even the point. She used that word against him to imply less than human, the same way her enslaver ancestors used the word to justify the enslavement and dehumanization of his ancestors. Now, this guy, I understand where this guy's coming from. I know this guy. I don't know him personally, but I know the mindset of this guy. Because this person used that N word. She's wrong. But if we use it, it's okay. Now, in reality, is that logical? Every ethnic person has some kind of racial stereotype. And we use those racial stereotypes, even when we make fun of those. Like back in the days, we made fun of racial stereotypes. We did. And was it right? Not really, but we made jokes about it. I mean, how many times you see, like, for example, Richard Pryor, even Chris Rock, white people jokes. And the funny thing is, you say the white people jokes, and it's funny because we as African Americans saw white people do these things, and we show it to you, and you laugh at it because, yeah, I understand that, I know that, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember Andrew Dice Clay said, "Oh, is there any brothers and sisters in the house?" Smile, because it was a dark house, and the only way you could tell if they showed their teeth. So you can see, like, yeah, which is kind of it's a joke. It is hurtful in a way, but you make fun of it. So, and think about how comedians today can't use those kind of jokes. And my response to that guy is that, listen, because that word is used every day and everywhere, people think it's okay to use it. So what happened is that principal who said that to that kid probably grew up on hip hop music, listening to it, the end. Watch this. Knows, sees a lot of black culture, sees a lot of black people using it amongst each other. So she's thinking, if they can say it, so can I. If they can say it and it's not demeaning, then how come if I say it, it's demeaning? That's the ideal. That's the mindset. And this dude right here who responded to me didn't quite understand that. Didn't really quite understand that. Okay, so what happened is, so the guy responded, the use of the word by this principal was with its original intent. Not That's not to say the use of the word throughout the last 500 years by everybody should be continued, but I'm sure that educator was using it to belittle and demoralize the little brother. The continuance of psyche destruction that began with with her ancestors. I'm glad it appears his parents are all hands on deck and teaching her son it's a new day and her shit is not to be accepted, tolerated, or acknowledged. Okay, here's the problem. I understand what this guy is talking about. He said it's not okay to use it, but since she used it, it was demeaning. It was the destruction of the psyche of this person to revert back to the slave era. But the funny thing is that two black people use it amongst each other. It doesn't confer that. Oh, I take it. I make it a pot. I mean, I heard this story before. I heard this before. I was gonna respond to that, but I'm like, this fool don't understand. This fool doesn't understand what I was trying to say. He heard what I said, didn't like it, and tried to jump on it and try to say this is what it is. So basically, or the word shouldn't be used, but because she said it, it brought up all this. I mean, and the thing is when a black person say that to me, I feel like beating the shit out of him myself. I mean, I remember my grandfather. He used to use that word every 5 words. He blah 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 blah. Don't be like blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, chill. But then again, he's from a different time. The time he grew up was in the 1920s. He fought in World War II, so he lived through Jim Crow, and he heard that shit all the time. Some people say, well, people look at us anyway, so that's why not we say it because that's what people think of us, and that kind of thinking is ridiculous. Now, here's my take on this. And the funny thing is that other people look up and say you have to read the whole story. I read the whole story. I read the whole story before I responded. You know, you use that word. That principal used that word to show that I'm saying this. I called you this because it made you feel hurt. Now imagine what you did to this other person. Now we don't really know if this kid was bullying other kids or not. We don't even know that. But the idea of that's what happened, and you jump on the teacher. The teacher didn't get fired. I guess because they looked at the circumstances and said, okay. And what happens is everybody's like, no, it's not enough. They got to. And the funny thing is, this other person said, I read it. She thought it was and she thought, as a white woman, she should use the word as a teachable moment on a biracial child to show how it felt. And the funny thing is she goes, well, she's been education for a long time, and belittling children with one of the most racist words can't possibly be the way to go about it. Okay, which is fine, but the idea what I was saying is that when you hear that stuff in the streets, you cut on the music and you hear that every day. You see it in the movies. When you see all that and you encounter it all the time, people are gonna think that gonna think they're gonna say that. So what happened was years ago when Eminem first came out, and I talked to some people and I said, what if Eminem said something like that? Oh, that's cool because he's just like us. And I'm like, what? Are you fucking out of your mind? That's the that's the funny thing is, it's it's nonsense. It is total nonsense. So no, so the story mention of the story is that we should never use any kind of racial derogatory words. you know. And I remember one of my coworkers, before he retired, his wife said, call, this guy, his name is Yi, he's Chinese, call him the C word. And she didn't, but the funny thing is, she just thought it was just a regular freaking word. He knew what that word meant. And he's like, no, you can't say that kind of stuff. You can't say, but the thing is, his wife was kind of oblivious to it. You see what I'm saying? That's the kind of idea that most people have. If you're oblivious to it, why do you care, right? So, let me know what you will you be using derogatory language that's based on stereotypes like the N word, the C word, the S word? Should that be normalized? Or if that's wrong, that means no one should be using it. Let's have a discussion. Talk to you later.